My name is Jonathan Gilliam.
And this is The Experts.
This is Jonathan Gilliam, and this is The Experts on Facebook Live, Twitter, and now YouTube. And what I'm doing today is I'm going to do a live, just a short show to cover what I've seen is not being covered on the news. And for the first time, I'm trying to do this on YouTube at the same time. So now I have Facebook, I have Twitter. In fact, I got to send it out on Twitter. So we are on Twitter now, we're on Facebook, and we're on YouTube, all being streamed at the same time. And it's able to be done that way thanks to equipment that has been donated to this show. So, in very important breaking news today about this congressional shooting, we're going to go a little bit over the reality of how Congress is protected, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the reality of what's actually going on and who this enemy is. Let's get started. So as always, you know, I get bored easy, so now I've thrown YouTube into the mix. We'll see how this works. I think it's been streaming for 10 minutes already, and luckily I've been sitting here trying to set everything up so people got to get a good view of me doing that. That's about the only thing that has been going on here. Is I've been actively talking with people from different media outlets and was just on Newsmax a little bit ago. So yeah, there's a lot on YouTube. I don't know exactly how this is going to work, if it's going to work well on YouTube. At the same time, I've never actually used it. Seems to be a lot of buffering on YouTube for some strange reason. I don't know why that is. So if it doesn't work on YouTube, you can go over to Facebook, Jonathan T. Gilliam, or on Twitter at jgilliam_seal. I don't think that there's buffering going on there. But YouTube seems to be a problem here. So we're getting all this kind of set up with YouTube. Okay, so here's the deal, folks. Evidently, this guy James Hodgkins decided to go to the Congressional baseball or softball game. I'm not even clear on exactly which one that is, which one it was. I'm going to have to look that up so I have that, because that's the least of my concerns that I've had so far. I do believe it's a baseball game, though. And pull up another window here. So what I think the most important thing for people to start realizing is that this was not a cop hater, which has happened with Black Lives Matter. This guy was not a Muslim, which we've had terrorist incidents with fundamental Islam. That's primarily the one that has utilized active shooter types of terrorist responses or attacks. This was a 60-year-old white male. And again, I don't like to use color as a definition here, but I want people to realize that this is what I believe, and I'm calling now on social media and here, this is the evolution, I believe, of the face of domestic terrorism now. So what I think this is when looking at this, and I have a lot of my incredible analyst looking at this and going over this individual's Facebook page, they have pulled massive amounts of information about this guy before even the news agencies were pulling this information. One of the biggest things that comes out of this is that this individual is associated with Bernie Sanders, first of all, and he is also associated with many of the different activists. Now, I'm still going into that, and then we'll have a better report on this later on this evening at 9 p.m. But this individual that did the shooting, this James Hodgkins, is known on Facebook to actually be associated with activists that are of the extreme left. So I think what we're seeing here is an evolution in domestic terrorism. And remember, the definition of terrorism is the use of force, intimidation, violence. You could throw all these things in the definition for a political aim. So that's what this individual did. He walked up. He asked somebody there, who were those people over there? They said, oh, those are the Republicans, because they were practicing for this game. And then he walked over by the visitors' dugout, and somehow, which is the question I think I have for the law enforcement there, was able to pull out what they're reporting is, I'm sorry, I'm doing stuff at the same time I'm talking, apparently pulled out a semi-automatic rifle and started shooting. And Paul Ryan said he heard over 50 shots. I don't know how he counted that many shots, but nonetheless, there were a lot of shots. And because the House Majority Whip, hold on one second. Let me see. Steve Scalia, I believe is his name. He had, because the way Congress works and the way that they're protected is they have not everybody. There's over 400 congressmen in the House of Representatives, so not everybody gets a protection detail. Steve Scalia had a protection detail because he is one of the leaders in the Republican Party, so he gets this protection detail. Had that detail not been there, I don't know who is tasked with coming up with how they guard these special events, or on a daily basis the rest of these representatives in Congress. But it appears to me, had that specific protective detail not been there, this might have been a complete melee of every Republican that was there. And it sounds like a lot of the Republican congressmen and Democrats were there, but this was specifically targeted to the GOP. So that's very significant, folks. Very significant. Because one, I mean, just from a security standpoint, it appears as though, you know, as I've always said, the security for in and around Washington, D.C. is like it is in most places. It's by and large smoke and mirrors. I mean, it really is. The congressmen are not taught what to look for, how to react. The staffers who always get shot. The staffers are like the passenger in a car when there's a drunk driver. They are the ones that always get killed, and the drunk driver almost always survives. In the case with the staffers, they shoot at politicians. They inevitably end up hitting and crippling, in a lot of cases, these staffers that are always surrounding and buzzing around these congressmen. So there were some staffers, I think, shot today. But the point is, the security and the awareness that is taught to the people that are in and around these congressmen, the congressmen themselves, I'm sure it's the same thing in the Senate, the security is lacking. And when you get, remember, here, I keep preaching this over and over, the Democratic and Republican parties, they are private companies, right? But they utilize company America to get their agenda out, their narrative, or pad their pockets. That's basically the way it is. But this is less of a political statement against them as it is. I want you to realize that every seat of government in the United States, state, local, and federal, are all owned by these two companies. So if somebody goes to a baseball field where representatives are at and in Congress and starts targeting Republicans specifically, and if the protective detail had not been there, literally a good portion of one of our branches of government would have been injured or killed. So they need to start thinking about this. When you have this amount of people together, I understand it's going to be difficult to give every representative their own security detail, but they should really step up the plate when they're all at Congress or when they're all at a special event like this. It's not that difficult to screen people and to have police on alert, because, could this guy have gotten a weapon in anyway? Probably so. You can't ever fully secure any type of special event, but they need to have more law enforcement that's on the ready, realizing that this is coming. This is a storm that's coming, folks. And what is that storm? That storm is the left. I said this not even a week ago. I almost wish we could just go ahead and get this civil war going before the liberals on the far left activists realize that that guns are effective, and so then they're going to start and see they've already crippled the right in our ability to carry a weapon defensively. So once they start figuring out that, hey, they can cause a lot of problems, not just by breaking windows and acting like a fool, like the Antifa or BAMN. Act all the time, or Black Lives Matter for that matter, all terrorist groups. When they figure out on a whole, not just individuals, that they can start picking up weapons and actually injuring, killing people in order to change the political aim, which is overall terrorism, we've got a problem on our hands at that point already. Well, I think this is going to be a real turning point. What you're going to see out of this is an inability for the left to fully spin this, because this guy worked on Bernie Sanders' campaign. This guy hates Trump. He says all the same exact rhetoric as all the liberals. Kathy Griffin, the people who are mock killing Trump in Central Park at the Shakespeare in the Park play. All these liberal politicians and activists and entertainers, they've all been advocating the use of force and violence against Republicans, and specifically against the president. So I think this should give people a real reason for pause, because it's going to be very difficult. Listen, they'll always try to spin it. I haven't even turned on CNN today, so I'm not sure what they're trying to spin here. But the fact is, this guy is a terrorist, and he's a liberal. Well, let's go ahead and call it what it is. My good friend Rick Unger's a liberal, but he's not a communist. He's not a socialist. This guy was a socialist/communist. He's associated with socialist and communist actors. Let's just drop the socialist. It's communism. And so that's what this individual was. So this is a real, I believe there's been, over the years, there's been turning points in the face of domestic terror. International terror is by and large, right now, it is by and large fundamental Islam. But I'm telling you folks, I'm like John the Baptist in the desert crying out for you to listen to me. Terrorism is going to make a shift, and it's going to shift from just exclusively internationally, mostly focused on fundamental Islam, and it's going to take a turn, and you're going to start seeing globalist/socialist/communist. It's really communism. You're going to start seeing this stuff. This individual is only the beginning of what you're going to see. It sounds conspiratorial, but I've almost always been right on these things. I think that the symptoms are there, that the hatred on the left and the violence and the unchecked violence, that's the other thing, is that authorities are not checking these people. They're not making anybody. Well, first of all, if you're communist and you're wanting to put on a march in the United States, I don't think that should be protected by free speech, because you're advocating the overthrow of our Constitution and our government. That is not protected, from my understanding, under free speech. Now, they will manipulate the First Amendment and try to say that is under there, just like flag burning, which I don't believe is free speech. That's an action. I think that we need to take a step back and look at communism and these activists, and when they are actively saying that they want to overthrow the United States government and crush our Constitution, they should be looked at as enemies of the state and as terrorists. The use of force and violence and intimidation for political aim. They are terrorists. So I know that I've already started getting it on LinkedIn. Some people from, or specifically one guy, I'm going to have to cut him off here in a second because he's on the left. He doesn't get it. He doesn't. Got to see if Rico's awake there. My dog, Rico, 17-year-old Jack Russell. It sounded like he was moving around back there. I don't want him to fall off the bed. So what we have to realize here, folks, is that what is going on right now is a shift in actions by, it's not a shift so much in terrorism. Terrorism is terrorism. But the actions of the left are going to shift. As they become more violent on the left, what's going to happen is the people that are closer to the center are going to become either one of the other things. They're going to be pushed to the right, or they're going to become more emboldened in standing with the left. It's going to be one or the other. That's still to be played out, yet to be played out. So I think that's, I don't have to say too much more, but I do want to point out that the other thing about media was just stupid. Let me hook this up real quick because I want you to hear this. I recorded this earlier. I said I didn't watch CNN. I just turned it over there, and this is what I got. Let's see here. Okay, so this is CNN's chief political analyst, and he's talking about the reality of what happened today. Just listen to this. This is the nonsense when it comes to talking about leadership. This is not leadership. Listen.
And David Shelley, enjoying the conversation. It is sad, beyond sad, that it takes such a tragedy, a horrific, cowardly act, someone deciding to open fire on a field of congressmen, staff, and 2 Capitol Police officers to bring this out in Washington. The Speaker talking about a family. Nancy Pelosi actually drawing laughter on this difficult day by saying, I'll do something I would never do before, saying I associate myself with the remarks from the Speaker. And
So that's definitely not leadership. Okay, but we're going to hear this spun to where they're saying this is leadership.
President of the United States at the White House also delivering a very thoughtful, very respectful, very moving tribute, and very essentially a call for support and unity in the country.
Yeah, John, this is political leadership at its best. This is 3 leaders we've now seen in President Trump, Speaker Ryan, Leader Pelosi step up and really appeal to that nature of togetherness here. Donald Trump, the president, in his remarks said a reminder to everyone that I think is so important here, that everyone that comes to serve in this town, whether as a member of Congress or as a staff member or to serve certainly in the Capitol Police, they do so out of a love of country. And we're not, we tend day in and day out, obviously, not to pay much attention to that. But that is such a unifying force. And the president hit on that. And then to have the Speaker follow that up with not only this very dramatic moment that got everyone in the House on their feet, where he says an attack on one is an attack on all of us.
Okay, that's enough of that. But do you see what I'm talking about, folks? Media is already skipping over the fact that this guy is he's professed socialist. He's really a communist. That this is the face of the left that attacked, and specifically attacked, our Republicans, or the conservative side of Congress, and was really with a long gun was going after as many people as he possibly could. It's crazy. Ralph Randolph, even during the day when I do a random show, calls in. How random is that? Anyway, I'm gonna have to get on to him in just a second. So that is, for those of you that don't normally watch a show, if you're on YouTube right now or on Twitter, these are different people that are associated with the show. Ralph Randolph and Rico, my 17-year-old Jack Russell. But the media is completely skipping over this nonsense. They're completely missing, not nonsense. The media is completely skipping over the story with this nonsense, talking about leadership and camaraderie and kumbaya nonsense. The fact is, this is what you need to take away from this right now as I get ready to shut this down until this evening. This attack was done by not a crazy person, a communist, a socialist / communist. drop-off socialists. They're communists. A Bernie Sanders supporter. Bernie Sanders, who from all my accounts is an atheist and hates Christianity. Bernie Sanders, a guy who during the election process had the most violent followers that were causing havoc all the time. Bernie Sanders, somebody who is associated with George Soros and who is a globalist and a communist and a freakishly odd individual, dangerous person who should be considered an enemy of this state. And this individual that did the shooting is aligned with the thoughts and process of Bernie Sanders. He was a volunteer on Bernie Sanders' campaign. This guy is a professed communist or socialist, really communist. He is also in league with activists who are friends with him on Facebook and on Twitter. This is the real story. Not that Nancy Pelosi cracked a joke and that everybody wants to come together and blah, 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 and this and that. Officers were shot, took bullets for this guy, for this congressman. The congressman was shot. It could have been worse had that protection detail not been there because they didn't have adequate security for this event. I used to run the special events for the FBI in New York City. I know what I'm talking about as far as threat assessments and the reality of smoke and mirrors. This was smoke and mirrors, but luckily they had one alert group of people there that were able to neutralize this shooter who's dead now. And this is the new face of terrorism. That's it, folks. So I'm not going to do a truth zone. I'm not doing anything else. No A block, B block, C block. Last night I thought I was hitting close, but I guess I was hitting C block as I was closing the show. So let's go ahead and we are going to skip on out of here. And remember, the truth has arrived. I'm Jonathan Gilliam. You can find me here tonight, 9 p.m. on Facebook, on Twitter, and I'm guessing now on YouTube if I check this out and it actually works okay. A little bit more of a longer show tonight. Probably have a couple experts on, possibly. And as always, your dialogue is very, very important. Go out, live your life, be free, but be aware of your surroundings. Don't put yourself into a soft target area if you don't have to. By and large, you don't have to unless it has to do with work. Be smart. Stay alive. And remember, there's no spin here. The truth is the narrative here on this show, not this nonsense that you're going to see on television. You're going to get the facts. And sometimes the facts hurt. But that's what we're here for. I'm Jonathan Gilliam. I'll see you tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on The Experts.